Hi, this is Dario Villani from Naples. Today we have a short interview with Professor Derrick de Kerckhove of McLuhan Institute of Toronto in Canada and Federico II University of Naples. Since 1975 in Italy, there are a lot of private radio and television, like in North America or UK, and here we believe to have a television for every citizen. Now there are a weblog. What do you think?
The appearance of the internet and the web once made me say, everybody a broadcaster. The idea being that it was possible now to use multimedia to create one's own show and put it online and then have a television station. And in fact, everybody is a broadcaster on the internet by definition. Interestingly enough, the blog is very different from television because it's the true definition of narrowcasting. It's what I call high pertinent casting, where the people who are interested get the attention from the people who are interested. It's a very direct, very precise, very particular mode of connecting. It's brilliantly hypertextual. It's the blog literally chooses people and topics and pairs and matches them in a way that no other medium has ever been able to do, in fact. Think about it. There's no other medium except possibly human talk, like face-to-face talk, but even so, there's no archiving in human talk. There's no other medium that can go and create a dictionary of specific interest and the people, and put together the network of the people connected by these specific interests, and the possibility of going there, the possibility of searching that. You realize that now that you can put weblog references on Google, the situation has become where you can search the text with the context, like a really deep search as opposed to a few keywords thrown in here and there. It's just an amazing thing. I think that weblogs are a fundamental moment of maturing of the web.
With a weblog we have many space for critique.
Yes, the weblog is always an open space for comments, and it's just as protected by its own configuration as human talk. I mean, suppose you and I and Serena and half a dozen people are in the same room. No one among us is going to go outside the bond or the context of our conversation. The same goes for the blog. So the chances that somebody makes an absolutely stupid comment on purpose is not very strong, simply because the blog functions the same way as the social gatherings, the real human face-to-face networks, plus the archiving, which is anything stupid you say will stay there for a long, long time, just as it does in the memory of the people with whom you were. So the blog is self-protected, just like our own human talk is self-protected. And to that extent, it becomes a very, very social, a profound social kind of communication.
Emergent democracy. We know the history of a case in Holland of a simple citizen that became a very famous politic man thanks our website. What is the relation between new media and politics?
Well, I think that to the extent that the electorate, the population of people who vote, is getting itself more sophisticated, it is both requiring more precision in political stances, attitude, platform, and is allowed to project more precision in its demands, so that communities of people who are interested in finding out what a politician is doing are people who can both refine their political knowledge and request a better political representation. This has happened with Howard Dean. This is happening with this guy in the Netherlands. This makes a lot of sense. Now, the Netherlands, I think it's just a website, but even so, the website and the blogs both are levels of sophistication of both the public and the users. And we will see more of this. We will see more of people whose election depends, or level of power depends on consensus via the internet. A building of a consensus, a building of a voting party, much more intelligent voter. Maybe voters won't come in quantity, but they sure will come in quality, and that quality is surely going to have a meaning and an impact on the level of political guidance that we may expect from the future.
Journalism and the new media. There is a new method to make journalism, or internet it's only a new channel of expression.
It's clear. It's absolutely clear that the internet is providing journalism with a hugely powerful medium for new expression and new levels and new types of news reporting, storytelling, fact-finding, fact-distributing, all these things that are possible in classical journalism on paper are becoming infinitely more flexible online, and there is an amazing there's a different style of writing that comes from distributing news online. And there's a different relationship to the reader as well, much more personal, in fact, than there would be in the published one. I mean, journalism online is as close to interactive journalism as you can get.
Every year in Italy there is an exhibition show about public administration and new media and ICT. And now we speak about radio and television for public administration. The radio is a very simple media because it's not expensive, also because the radio like to read a book to exit the imagination, and also when you listen to radio you can make another occupation. We think that the radio have a new era of Rinascimento with internet. What is the future of the radio?
That will be always the big winning card for radio, the possibility of being heard and not requiring other levels of attention. Radio plays, and the reason it's rising again, radio plays a unique, irreplaceable role in the economy of attention, which is the economy of the present, and will probably stay the economy of the future as well. The true value today is to what extent can you grab attention from your fellow citizen or your fellow man. To what extent, even for a musical, for a musical piece on the radio, to what extent you must choose that musical piece so that it'll maintain the attention or the interest of the listener. This is part of the editorial teamwork to discover how to grab attention, and radio does so very, very well. Is an inexpensive medium, another big feature of radio. It doesn't cost a lot. Its broadcasting is now becoming facilitated and distributed in more precise and more selective way, thanks to the internet and the possibility of addressing people who actually leave their address. I mean, come on. It's amazing. Radio now has access to a return on its, projection, a return, a feedback that it never had before. Yeah, radio's going to do very well. I don't know whether, I don't think, even advertising will probably follow well on radio. It has always done well on radio. And also, radio is capable of many, many, many variations and many different kinds of publics. Radio can achieve a very fine carving of its public. We're talking about this at the University of Federico II in Naples, and we've just finished a course on digital culture, and one of the groups of students presented a very interesting project called Radio Online and Radio dell'Ateneo. And they made a show. They actually presented that show. It was really sweet and very nicely done, full of energy and very exciting. And then the question was, all of us, students and teacher, there were 3 there, we're discussing like how does one carve one's public? Radio has to deal now with a very specific public, practically a named public. Okay, so how do you grab the attention of that public, and how do you make it? How do you fidelize it, or you make it faithful to you? Well, this is the big demand of every media producer. But it was exciting to know that within a university system, a radio would actually work for university kids who would want to get their own, and they would use it as background. We have a radio at the University of Toronto, and it seems to be doing very well. So there's nothing that's going to replace radio.
You have written many books with McLuhan, the creator of a global village. Can you tell me about your friendship?
Yes. Well, let's not exaggerate. I did not write books with McLuhan. I wish I had. Although I couldn't have done such a wonderful job anyway. I was very slow with McLuhan. But I translated his books, and that was slow too. I learned a lot when I was translating. I must say, if you don't understand an author, let's say a philosopher or a sociologist or whatever, if you don't understand, try and translate that person. That's provided you speak two languages. It's something. It's a good counsel. You really learn the thought of somebody by doing that. I did contribute a few knickknacks from cliché to archetype. Actually, I proposed an amusing thing. McLuhan had written this book called From Cliché to Archetype as a dictionary. So each chapter, instead of being logically and causally, sequentially organized, were actually just alphabetically. So he admitted it. And so I think he had about 28 or 20, maybe more, 30 chapters. And I thought, now, they're all about cliché, and the book was called Cliché to Archetype. So I said to Marshall, why don't we take the Dictionnaire des idées reçues, the dictionary of clichés, really, that was done by Flaubert, Gustave Flaubert, in Bouvard et Pécuchet. It's fantastic. It's a 19th century dictionary of what people considered as common thing, commonplace, cliché, banalities of the time. And McLuhan wanted to do a book about banalities and cliché of his own time. So we put it all together. That was my contribution. And the book actually didn't sell much more in French than it did in English. But it is a great book. It's a lot of fun. And the Dictionnaire des idées reçues of Flaubert does help a great deal. So that was my contribution to co-writing with McLuhan. Now I did a little book of his papers, which I commented, which was actually published in Italian also. It was From Eye to Ear, dall'occhio all'orecchie. It was in Italian. And so that was rather nice. So, I worked with him. Working with him was a fun experience. Not always. He'd wake me up at 2 o'clock in the morning, middle of the night, and he'd say, Derrick, I don't know when he slept, Derrick, I've got this new thing that we should add to the book. I said, Marshall, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. Yes, well, who cares? And then, but Marshall, the book, this is this is the original thing that I'm translating. Who cares? So anyway, we would work together on different aspects of the book in that way. It was always very, very exciting to get a call from him, even in the middle of the night.
This is all for today. You have listened a short interview with Professor Derrick de Kerckhove of McLuhan Institute of Toronto, Canada, and Federico II, University of Naples. Bye-bye and greetings from Naples.